Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. Today I am reviewing 5 sets. These are all Ninjago Legacy sets for the Winter Wave 2021, and that actually completes the entire wave. All of these sets were sent to us from LEGO to do reviews for them, so thanks a lot guys for sending these sets over to us. It is absolutely awesome that we get an entire wave to review for you guys, and I think it should make it a lot easier for us to sort of put all of these different sets together contextually, and we can kind of see which are strongest in their certain attributes, I suppose. Some of these sets are loosely based off of previous sets, or very closely based off of previous sets that we've seen before in the past, while other ones are sets that are just based on things that people feel like they really should have gotten from previous seasons, and that is definitely the case for the Overlord Dragon. Let's start off with this set to be the first of the reviews. Alrighty, here is the Overlord Dragon from Season 2. This is one of the sets that never got made that people definitely wanted, and I think one of the biggest, most distinct differences for this model and what you saw in the show is there's a lot more color to the dragon here. It is done in mostly dark blue with a lot of purple highlights. It's almost equal in terms of the amount of purple and blue that you get, with a little bit of black and dark gray. We have some special pieces that make up the head, which is really nice, and in general it's a great build for the Overlord Dragon. Let's take a look at the figs first. So here's Golden Lloyd first. There's a lot of different gold ninjas as collectible figs for this wave, but because we get Gold Lloyd, because this is of course who fights the Overlord Dragon, you don't get any collectible version, or at least the one that says collectible. He is an exclusive fig, however. We've seen this expression several times before, and here is just a look at the full detailing that you can see along the back. Really nice details through and through, even though 10 times out of 10 you're basically going to have this guy always with his armor on. Alrighty, let's move on to Overlord. We have that great sort of ghost apparition piece, even though the Mysterio figure from the most recent wave has kind of a cooler version of a ghost apparition piece that fits over minifig legs. This one still looks good. It's done in black and trans purple. That's the two colors that are combined together. And let's take a look at his face. Pretty nice. Trans purple head with some pretty darn good printing for the expression on his face. Honestly, excellent. I love the gold teeth. It really pops well for the facial expression. There's a little bit of detailing there for the back of his head as well. And if you want to see the full chest print, nothing too crazy here. You can see it pops pretty well with the gold there against the light. But there he is. Okay, let's check out the set. All right, now let's take a look at this dragon head mold. I think that is one of the main pieces, or really is the main piece that I think makes this set individual and special. It is definitely going to remain exclusive to just this set. Great printing for the eye. We have some great molding. This is a dual mold. You can actually see where the gold plastic is sort of inlaid in there with the black, and the same goes for the roof of the mouth there. There's a really good amount of articulation because you can see that it's actually on a droid arm, so you can kind of push. I mean, you can kind of create expressions. You probably want to have them sort of even. I think that looks the most evil and intimidating, but you could do, what is that, an overbite, underbite? You guys know the terminology. Someone will tell me in the comments, but excellent articulation. The head can go, well, it can go all the way around, but it can twist up and down here. So there's tons of articulation. That's probably the biggest thing. The tail's interesting because it doesn't actually articulate up and down, but when you look at how well it wiggles back and forth, I think I would take that. I think I'd rather take the ability of the tail moving up and down away and give it sort of the looser, loosey-goosey feel that you have for the tail here. There's, of course, a little bit of posability with these little spikes, but you do have some ball joint articulation for these little blades that stick out for the back of the tail. And then, actually, it's kind of nice, far away, you can see the articulation of the wings. Now, this is on a ratcheted joint, and the other two blades here can't move at all. So I think this is sort of the standard position, but you can, I don't know, if you want, you can play around with the position of those. But the wings are on a nice big stiff ball joint here, so you can move them this way. There's a little bit of articulation here. Some of these little spikies like to move around on the back. I mean, there's just a lot. The dragon can move pretty darn well. We've got a lot of articulation for the legs. And might I recommend not picking up the model and just holding it and twisting it by the joints. You might end up breaking it away, but that's actually kind of a nice little clean breakaway point for the head. It just it just goes in there with the pin. It's all just one singular piece. And I also really like that they used these kind of old, not old, but these car pieces. These are normally little headlights that come out on, 4x4 city cars, but two of them facing against each other actually has a great way of rounding over the top of the neck body, I suppose, if that's what you want to call it. I also like this. When do we get an inverted 2x2 in magenta? Probably in friend sets, I'm not sure, but I haven't seen it done in that color before. And yeah, there you go. So it's a pretty good dragon when it comes to functions. I think it looks really good. I think the color combination works super well for this. It's not quite show accurate. I think they added a bit more color. I don't think they wanted to make it super black. So I think they found a really nice sort of middle ground. I think this looks better than what the dragon looks like in the show, at least in terms of a Lego iteration. If they had tried to make it more show accurate, I don't think I would have liked it as much. That's just my personal opinion. And all right, let's move on. Let's move on to the next set. Now, what's funny is that Overlord Dragon set was $30, 2 figs, and I still thought that was a good deal. This Tournament of Elements set is $30, and you get all of these figs. Pretty awesome deal. Right off the bat, this is probably one of the best fig sets of the year 2021 for the winter wave so far. I'll be interested to see how you can get this many figs for this much money in the future, and I think they did a pretty darn good job. So this is definitely the fig-centric set of the wave, and let's take a look at it.
Okay, I'll put it back in his pot. There we go.
Thank you. Starting off with new characters to Lego minifigure form first. This is Bolobo. He is all about nature. He's like the master of nature, and yeah, he's got his nature staff with that piece that is made popular by the Monkey Kid sets. It's the longer sort of lightsaber blade staff piece, but the print on his chest is pretty darn excellent. He looks really good. I like the leg printing. I like the back printing. His expressions look great. He's a pretty darn complete looking minifigure. I think he's probably my favorite one of this particular set. Also, the hairpiece is great. We need to just get more and more of those hair pieces. I think they look pretty excellent. And now we move on to Gravis, who also we have not gotten in minifigure form. This guy actually looks pretty close, I think, or closer to what he looked like from the show compared to Bolobo. And let's see, I'm just putting the gravity pieces back in his hands. He's got the sort of sparkly bits of dishes there. You can see some decent printing on the back. He's got also a very good print exclusive just to him. Really nice expression. His secondary one I think is better than his first one with the eyes closed. And then this is what his front print looks like, not obscured by anything else. It's a great looking minifigure. Honestly, this guy's looking really cool, but he's not my favorite. This next guy is very goofy. Look at him. He kind of looks like a beetle, doesn't he? Jacob is the master of sound, and if I'm not mistaken, this is supposed to be a sitar, or maybe he had a sitar and now he's got a guitar. It looks really cool. It's nice. It's actually kind of a nice white guitar, but really cool prints. I'm not super familiar with this area of the Ninjago storyline, so apologies if I don't have like lots of anecdotes about any of the characters here, but this is a pretty excellent figure to get kind of no matter what, depending on, doesn't matter what theme I should say. Now we're looking at the limited edition Golden Lloyd. So this is the guy that stands on this little stand here. It's got this little Ninjago insignia. These are the studs that you would put him on. And right, so he's the Legacy Lloyd, the Golden Lloyd. He's different from the last Gold Lloyd that we just looked at from the Overlord Dragon set. The print for his body is totally different. So is the headband hairpiece, which looks absolutely excellent. It's a really, really nice looking hairpiece. For a second, I thought his head was forever stuck on the body. I was trying to take the armor piece off, but look at that. Such good detailing on the back. I really like that they spend a lot of time creating really wonderful details for you to see for every aspect of the character, especially considering this is like one of those collectible guys. He's the limited edition dude you'll see on the box. And even though there's like a million different gold Lloyds out there, I think this is probably one of the nicer looking ones. We'll see how collectible he is in the long term, but that'll take a couple years to find out. Jay looks pretty excellent with his robe detailing. I love all the different lettering that goes across the front of the chest. Here's what he looks like from the back. These are updated prints from the season 2. So, and then here is Jay without his mask on. You can see his expressions. You get a slightly better look at that torso print. Pretty excellent looking guy. And then there is Kai moving over to the Red Ninja. Once again, this is an updated print. Let me change this over a little bit so you can get a slightly better look at his torso printing there. Pretty excellent looking dude. In general, I'm not a huge fan of updating some of the older details. I would rather get just more and more new characters that we haven't seen before, but they did a pretty good job updating him. And then this last guy is also an updated fig. We've got Izor. He's a really interesting character. I think he dies in the show. Yeah, and they changed up some of his color detailing. I don't think he had dark red pants before in the past. His expression has changed on his face, and the updating for his facial expression is just a little different. I like him better with this nice mohawk piece. He looks good. The detailing for him is good. I think he had a mohawk, actually. Pretty good looking dude, and in general, it's just awesome to get 7 figs in a $30 set. You just simply don't get that basically ever. All right, now here is the entire set together. You can see a few of the pieces for the play functions. This is an all right function. I've never been a huge fan of it. It would be cool if there was a way to like operate something with just one hand so you could have the guy spinning back and forth. Maybe that'll be an evolution of another year of Ninjago sets or something. But it's good. The fact that Jay or anybody can rotate around means that the figure's gonna move before something pops out of his hand or he gets knocked off of this little thing. So you can have a little bit more play or free play with that piece. This, of course, you can spin around or you can take off this little rounded inverted 2x2 and attach it to this and have sort of the same feature going. And outside of that, there's not a huge amount in terms of play functions. We've got a lot of these green blades that are attached to different areas of the dojo. And in general, this build just looks pretty darn good. I love the design for the little vases that are actually kind of big vases that are at the top on either corner. And we've got this book here. And there's another little sticker piece on the inside as well, some detailing in there. And I also really appreciate that the 2 pieces at the ends here are attached by mixel joints. This is nice. It allows you to, well, number one, you can easily detach them if you wanted to, put them into different parts. Oh, that's funny. It was easier for this thing to come apart there, which you could totally do. But you can detach them and kind of make the space a little bit bigger for like a play area in the center if that's what you wanted. But also just moving it around, these little extremities, when they get bumped into things, they're not going to break off. They're going to bend in one way or another, or if you pick the setup and you put it down, it's not going to break off. It's just going to bend up. That's just a nice little thing that you can appreciate in terms of not wanting to accidentally break pieces off of this. You can also take this area and it's got a mixel joint attached as well. So if you wanted to put that onto the end of this play area, you could do the same thing. So that's nice. These are some fun sticker details that are attached by a couple of clip bar pieces, and I really enjoy the use of these red pistons. These piston, I don't know the name of them exactly, but you can put a bar piece in there. They're really, really excellent for an actual piston function, but they also look pretty darn good as ornate red columns that sort of detail the whole thing out here. I like the little dragon detailing here. You do get some of these longer bar pieces, so you can actually make a functional piston out of this, which is pretty fun, or at least a couple of times over. And yeah, it's a pretty darn decent looking little land play area. And I like that they didn't particularly skip out on any of these details, considering this is still and will always remain a Fig-centric set, and they definitely did a good job with this. It's a $30 set. It's probably one of the best buys for play value you could probably get for the Winter Wave. All right, here's the X1 Ninja Charger. This is an updated set from a previous one. It's changed a little bit. Some of the bad guys had slightly bigger builds in the last one. The first Ninja Charger, the first car, much smaller and had nothing in compared to cool functions. This has some really great hidden functions that I can't wait to get into. It sells for $50. This is a 599 piece set. Comes with these 5 figs, and let's get into the figs first. Easily the best figure here is the collectible Cole. This is the golden Cole. He's one of the collectible guys. He comes on this little stand here. Best cowl piece that we'll get from I think this entire wave. I just really like the integration of the gunmetal coloration. It just looks cool. That's just a nice bit of armor detailing that also kind of matches up with Cole's darker color complexion. Let's see the full print. There's Cole with the dark eyebrows. Really nice printing detail for both the front and back. They absolutely have plenty of detailing for the back, which is always greatly appreciated. This is, I think, my favorite of the limited edition collectible figs, and it's mostly because of his armor. This simple bit of gold detailing for the single pauldron on one side will look great later down the line. This Kai is the same Kai that we got in the Tournament of Elements set. Everything about him is the same except for his weapon is different now. He doesn't have that sort of scythe or spiked like spear thing from the last set. The same thing goes for Jay, so I'm going kind of quick. He's got some gold around his nunchucks instead of silver for the chain. That's really the only difference. And now we've moved on to the 2 Ninjroids. I feel bad not comparing our other Ninjroids that we have, because we do have all of the Ninjago minifigures, but they're still packed away right now, so I can't take out the old guys to show you guys direct comparisons for the figs, unfortunately, but there is some updating here. They're not like, it's nothing super special. It's just a little bit different, maybe a little cleaner, a little nicer. Nothing too crazy though. I think actually the cowl mold is slightly different as well for these guys. So they're a little bit different. Let me show you the full print for this dude. He's actually the same as the little guy, front and back. Nothing special, just slightly updated. But the piece that goes around his shoulders is actually a little bit different. There are 4 studs on the back that attach to the BrickVault sort of flying machine. All right, now here's the main feature of the X1 Ninja Charger. You've got Kai in there sitting in the seat. But he's actually, it looks like he's driving the car, and I suppose he is driving the car. Ooh, I gave it away a little bit, but there's this really cool function here. So, actually, I think it'll be easier to do it from this angle because I'm on this side. There is a little yellow lever that you can see here, and all you gotta do is flip it. Oh, he's gonna go off the table. All right, that was close. He almost went off the table. Not quite. And it's so easy though. You can just get Kai to slide back in. He rides in, and there is an excellent locking sort of Technic mechanism. You can see the function here, how that sort of works, and there is the bottom wheels. This is a slightly better angle to see it at. Let's see if I can actually do it I've never tried it on its side like this, so I'm curious to see what happens. Oh, that's cool. See, there you can see the locking mechanism. Yeah, this was a good idea. Such a clever design. So this, then you hit the lever, and he shoots out. So cool. He gets a lot of range. This is actually not too bad of a bike. I like the yellow seat in the back. The minifigure doesn't really sit on this. You can sort of lean him back, but I don't know if that's actually a help. He looks a little bit funny or awkward sitting straight up like that, but still a pretty good look all around. The back is a little bit funny, but of course it needs to be able to function well when sliding it into the model here. Oh, I took off the windscreen because I was holding it a little bit awkwardly for the video. Next up here are the spring-loaded shots. You can kind of lean them up and back like this a little bit, so there's some articulation, but for the most part, they're almost totally locked in place. You set them off just by pinching them, pretty much, or pushing them inwards. That's really... Ooh. I like some of the clipping connection here. There's a really nice sort of Technic connection to get this blade cutting in to the sides here. Some sticker detailing, but nothing that seems too reliant on that. Just a few yellow color highlights, a couple of little mechanical sort of vent details there towards the top by the hood. But for the most part, it's all pretty accessible, pretty easy to put on, and they don't really rely on it. For the most part, the angles here are pretty smooth and pretty easy. Now, they did a really good job reimagining this set, but remember, it is just this set. It's just this car. There's no bad guy vehicle. The original set had a few slightly larger, still pretty little builds that would help out the Ninjroids for this scene. But right now it's very Kai-centric, and they just said, hey, you know what, we're just gonna really take one thing and we're just gonna do it the best we can. And on that note, let's move on to the next set. All right, here is Zane's Titan Mech, 840 pieces, sells for $60, or will sell for $60. Has these 4 figures, and it's kind of a repeat set. It's not necessarily a reimagining of an old set, because really, this came out in set number 70737 that had the possessed samurai mech versus Zane's Titan Mech. And this was the smaller build of the original one. So what they did is they just took a cool mech idea and they said, hey, let's actually make it feel as cool and awesome and as well put together as, let's say, maybe Kai's flame mech from the Lego Ninjago movie, or just sort of the more modern approaches for larger robot designs, like something we saw from the Monkey Kid as well. The ankles want to kind of come in on you. Really good design, though. There's some really interesting mixel joint techniques for this model in particular, but like always, let's check out those figs first. All right, here's the golden version of Jay, the limited edition release. He's got, once again, some interesting, unique shoulder pauldron detailing. Also, a specially made cowl, like the rest of these guys. This one feels a little bit more Power Rangers-y, like sort of a Power Rangers visor or something like that, because it still kind of ties off in the back, which is interesting, but it feels a little bit more harsh and mechanical in the front. So, I mean, it's just kind of its own thing. It's its own design. And then here is Jay, unobstructed by his armor, so you can see the excellent detailing along the back. I really like the sort of pattern that goes along the belt. I think that's a really fun, very subtle detail that they decided to add that really benefits the character. And now let's move on to the main guy, the main fig for this set. We've got Zane here. He's, once again, like the other guys, he's just an updated version of a pattern and sort of style that we've seen before from the earlier season. Here is his full print and face unobstructed, so you can see everything. I really like those mechanical details, and this is also one of the only guys that comes with an alternate hairpiece for switching between, because he really doesn't feel complete unless he's got this silver flat top here. I still think he's kind of one of the most interesting ninjas. A little bit drier of a character maybe, but definitely one of the cooler guys in my opinion. And now we're jumping over to these two guys. We've got Tar here and a Soul Archer. Will it focus? We've got Tar here and a Soul Archer here. Pretty interesting looking guys. They're just basic updates of of bad dudes that we've gotten before. I really like this dual molded blade piece. It's the same type of plastic or coloration that we have for these ghost pieces here in the front, which is great. I think purple really contrasts well against the neon green. And let me show you guys their full prints. Pretty simple looking figs around here. They actually don't have any distinctive differences, which is a little disappointing. I feel like they could have had a special expression or just different tattered clothes pieces. But once again, this line of legacy sets isn't really meant to have like super special figs, really. They just kind of do little updates, but they're not really going to go too hardcore in terms of trying to make every figure exclusive here. All right, now we're jumping back into the set here. I really like how this has got sort of a Mech Gundam sort of head style. It looks really good. The sticker detailing, I think, actually really benefits the model here. You just bend it all the way back, and that leaves plenty of space for getting the fig inside. Let me see if I can just get him to stud in there without any hiccups. Yeah, this is happening. There we go. He's in, and it just comes down. I like that you can see Zane on the inside after he's sitting in the mech. There's enough attention, I think, for the head and for the figure. It's a really good sort of balance, I think, for showing off the fact that there's a pilot inside your mech. But there's a lot of articulation. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with the arms. The shoulder armor has a way of very easily sort of bending away, so you can clean up these gaps a lot easier when you're moving it around. So instead of having the arm down and having these weird open cuts that often mechs have, they just made it super easy for it to bend away, so it's not going to break at any given time, which is nice. It can flip around all the way around. There's a lot of tension and posability for the arms, and the 3 fingers looks great as a build. The wrists pivot, the thumbs move up and down. There's just so much for this. I really like the way this model works. They made him big. They made him a bit bulky, which is good. The reality is you can't make a Lego robot much bigger and heavier than this without it being a huge pain in the butt to move around in any play fashion, because the whole time it'll just sort of be falling over and it becomes sort of a display piece. That is not the case for this, and I think that was something that the designers really cared about. Probably the weakest point is maybe the ankles, because all this weight is coming down on these last joints. And you'd think the knees, but no, the knees are actually really strong. I love what they did here. It's kind of hard to describe, but you've got, I think, 4 ball joints of tension. Actually, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 connections here happening for each knee. And there's a bit of pivoting, and there's basically a front knee and a back knee connection. And the back knee just basically adds extra friction to this whole thing. So you can have the ability for the legs to bend, but not completely buckle, because that was the approach for large mechs in the back. I really wish I hadn't taken down the Fire Mech set, because the Fire Mech is a great build that came out for the Ninjago movie, but the knees did not bend. It was about this big, but the knees didn't bend, and that was because they just didn't have a realistic way of building the set that could add the tension that they needed in order for the model to not just buckle under its own weight. So they solved that problem here, and it's super cool. I love that they did that. I haven't even showed you the back yet. There's a few details here and there, like ball joints. There's an interesting kind of connection here that we have for the leg. It's a little bit hard, but it basically allows for some hip movement, but also it's just a little bit of extra tension. So the hips also are not bending and buckling under their own weight as well. In terms of a play function, we've got this thing that spins around on the wrist, a nice blade. He's got also a blade that kind of sticks out on the wrist, but nothing too fancy, nothing too big or bulky or something that will throw you off with the weight here. Let me actually load those. Totally forgot to do that. In fact, I think it's missing from the intro and outro shots, but don't tell anybody. Yes, he's got 2 spring-loaded shots. For some reason, this spring-loaded shooter's... Oh, there we go. The tension wasn't working. You can guess how that works, obviously. There's a little bit of ratcheting around here so you can aim them up and down, but the stance here works pretty good because he's sort of semi-pointing them down. I'm not going to bother shooting him. You guys have seen me shoot spring-loaded shots a bunch of times, I'm sure. And yeah, it's just a really good-looking robot. I like that they just took one concept and they said, we're going to make this model work really well instead of trying to make an entire set just a little bit better here and there, because I think they kind of knew, you know, people that are revisiting the legacy sets are also going to be fans that are a little bit older that want a little bit more from their build quality and style, and I think they did a really good job on this model. Now, pivoting completely, finishing off with the Boulder Breaker. This is basically an exact repeat of an earlier Boulder Breaker set. What was the set number for that? 70747. This one is probably, I'm gonna say, it's probably the weakest of the bunch. In fact, that's sort of the reason why I waited to review it last. I just didn't have as many nice things to say about this set as the other ones. This is still a great build. I love this piece. I don't know if it ever existed anywhere before, but it's such a good windscreen piece. And in general, this is still a fun model. I can see why they decided to bring it back, because it's basically a spring-loaded minigun that flies. And they did make the play function a little bit better than the original, but fundamentally it's not that different. This is also a better build, but also not some amazing thing. It's got a nice little target here that you can shoot with the spring-loaded shots. I will get into more details about this, but once again, figs, figs, figs. Starting off with Collectible Kai. He's looking fine. Honestly, his cowl piece is not particularly exciting. It's almost exactly the same as the other one, as like a normal one. It's a little different, but not in any way that I would say feels very significant. Here he is unobstructed by armor. Probably my favorite symbol, actually, out of any of the characters is this one in the back. Once again, love the detailing that goes around the sash. It's just a nice bit of extra attention that benefits the character. Everybody likes Kai, but honestly, I think he's one of the least cool of the collectible versions of the Golden Ninja. All right, we're moving on to Cole. In terms of this wave here, this is the only set that you can get Cole in. Updated prints look excellent. He's got a really nice hairpiece, and I think this just works really well with the cowl. Here is his face. This is his printing unobstructed. Not a bad looking version of the guy. And we're moving on to Lloyd. Once again, this is the only version of regular green Lloyd that you can get in this winter wave. The detailing isn't bad, but it's not, you know, it's the same updated kind of version of the print that we've seen from all the other ninjas. He's got some pretty standard expressions that we've seen before. And then Izor is back. He's the same guy from the other set. It's the exact same figure in every single way. He's just a repeat fig, nothing too special. And now we are back in it with the Boulder Blaster. Did I say Boulder Breaker before? I think I might have. Oops. Anyways, let's move this out of the way. Let's get these figs moved out of the way, give it some nice space so you can see the shape of this ship. It's definitely a very iconic vehicle from this season. It was featured a lot. People liked it a lot. People liked the set a lot. I can see why they decided to do an update. It's a really interesting concept. You can see here that they've added a handle for better handling. So, oopsies, you can see what broke off here. I actually didn't think it would. I was just kind of holding these plates here. There's a Technic axle that cuts through them, which you would think, because it also studs into this Technic as well. This Technic bit would never break away. It was just this plate area. So I guess I was just putting too much pressure on the very, very end of it. So anyways, that should be a normal place for you to grip the model. And then of course you can twist the gears to make this sort of minigun style build shoot. And let's just set some guys up for you so you can see what that function sort of looks like. It's actually a pretty awesome function. See if I can hit that target. Hey, there we go. That was 3 shots in like 1 second. Anyways, that's a fun function. It took a minute or two to get this thing to actually work. This is a little bit of landing gear, which is, it's fine. I don't think it really benefits the model all too much. There we go. Finally got it to focus, but I just did want to show you guys how this works. This mechanical function is essentially identical. It's an ambidextrous gear system, so you can twist it from either side, and it spins this. And when it spins and then these shots hit this little round bit, that's what ends up activating and shooting off these spring-loaded shots. If you get enough momentum, you can really just spin the wheel around very quickly and they all shoot off super fast, and it's kind of fun. So I'm going to do it again one more time, see if I can get them to go real quick. Alrighty, it's loaded back up again just so you can see it in its full glory. Long story short, it looks good. It's definitely an improvement in terms of aesthetics. It's a bit bigger and beefier. I like that these are on ratcheted joints here, so they don't break away as easily, or you can kind of get an interesting sort of dynamic pose with some of the wings on this side. I like the blade pieces here. These sticker detailings are big, but they actually don't. They work. They don't distract from the overall look of the model. This mold is great. Oop, there we go. Shot another piece off. This mold is great. It's, you know, get 2 of these and then put them against each other, and they look sort of like weird retro goggles that you can put on a larger brick-built sort of character. That would be cool. I might as well put Cole in the cockpit here just so you can see this guy sitting there. Get an idea of what that looks like with the fig inside. Pretty good, but ultimately the takeaway is this model isn't that different compared to the original. They didn't do a whole lot to really change what this fundamental design is. Not the same way they did with the X1 Ninja Charger, not the same way they did with the Titan Mech for Zane. This is just a slightly better version of a model that we've already gotten before in the past. This one is definitely, I think, the least. It doesn't do a whole lot for me in terms of what you could get from this set. I didn't show that to you guys in its perfect function before in the past, but here is a Ninja. Here we got Lloyd that's trapped in here, and when you hit that, that actually becomes the releasing mechanism. So the ladder is sort of the jail bars that keep the Ninja in place. It's a super simple function. Everything here is gravity powered, so I just like how the reset is just perfect, because this thing doesn't want to naturally fall forward. So this is pretty well locked in place. I mean, you really have to shake it quite a bit, but for the most part, just handling this once he's locked in place is actually, yeah, it's a solid little thing. So anyways, that's a nice little function. And all right, in conclusion, this build isn't bad. I think they did a good job. If you liked this set in the past, you may just really like the model and want to have like an updated version of it, but fundamentally it is the same kind of creation. I don't know if the last model was super weak or not, but this doesn't feel like anything that's really changing the game. You do get a couple of figs in this wave or in this set, I should say, that you don't get anywhere else in this wave, so maybe that is a slightly bigger incentive for you, but ultimately it is my least favorite of the 5 that I've reviewed today, and I just wanted to show you guys real quick. These are the 4 of the collectible, 4 of the 6. 4 of the 6. This wave came out with these 4 guys, but there are 6 more limited edition gold ninjas to get. So anyways, let's jump back to final conclusions. In terms of what I think is going to be the most collectible or desirable, Overlord Dragon is probably number 1 in that spot. They did a great job with the dragon, and it's just such an iconic part of the Ninjago universe that never got turned into a set. The Tournament of Elements has some new characters, and it's got a lot of figs for its price, which makes it just, in general, a great deal. That's definitely going to be one of the best fig-centric sets for, I think, 2021, at least starting off. We have some great reimaginations for the X1 Ninja Charger, and also Zane's mech is really, really cool in terms of some of the building details and building attributes that make it posable and just a bit more detailed compared to some of the older mechs, especially the older mech that this is based on. The weakest set, in my opinion, is going to be the Boulder Breaker. The Boulder Breaker doesn't look too significantly different compared to its original version, and we don't get a lot of like new figs or anything, or at least new characters that maybe people wanted to get. And the only really cool thing that I like is that molded piece for the cockpit. So yeah, that one, and also its price to part ratio. It's a bit expensive, and it doesn't feel like it matches the price quite the same way some of these other sets do. So in general, play-wise and quality-wise for the build, these guys are doing a really good job. And I know people are going to want, at least be critical about not getting more different, unique characters that they may have wanted to get. But Legacy so far hasn't really been introducing tons of new minifigures. They do it just a little bit here and there, and the Tournament of Elements is definitely the set for your new figs for sure. Right, so there it is. That's my general final thoughts for this Ninjago Legacy Wave. Let me know what you guys think about these sets in the comments below. I really love the play function on the X1 Ninja Charger. That's probably one of the best play features I've seen in a long time. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know once again what you think about this wave in the comments below. If you enjoy our content, you can always like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever it is that you want to do. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.